clever. And has earned the Toastmasters Advanced Communicator Gold Award. He has given several speeches about coming of age in Butte, Montana. His speech project is Speaking to Entertain from the Professional Speaker Manual. His time is 10 to 12 minutes. Let's welcome Geoff Chintz as he presents the Vigilante Mine Incident.
Fellow Toastmasters and guests, it was the summer of '55 in Butte, Montana, rough, tough mining town. My buddies and I have been off on a hike on the west side of Butte. At the end of the summer, we would all be starting high school as freshmen. We'd been fooling around down by the mine, and then we'd been walking back up the rise away from the mine, and we're about a half a mile away when we heard a commotion down by the mine, and looked down, and there was a brand new 1955 Mercury coming at us as fast as it could. It was swerving from side to side to avoid the rocks and the sagebrush, and every once in a while that front bumper would hit a sagebrush, and the sagebrush would fly over the top. There was a plume of dust that went all the way back to the mine. I noticed that there was an arm sticking out on the passenger side, and it was holding a pistol, and it was aimed at us, and it was bouncing up and down wildly. And as it got closer, I could see that it was a Colt .45 automatic. Jeffrey Wiley, it looks like your buddy Bobby Houghton has got you guys a big kettle of fish. That was my mom talking. She always talks to me all the time still, like Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder. She said, boy is judged by the company he keeps. She was always on the case about that ever since we moved to Butte, because I had all these ruffians in the neighborhood, and she was afraid that I was going to befriend them. The car was coming closer. We started to walk faster. About 2 hours before, Mrs. Houghton had ferried 4 of us over to the other side of town. We had a friend over there whose name was Carrie Duncan, and he had moved away, and so his mother wanted the buddies together before we started high school. I have to tell you something about Bobby Houghton, because he stood out as our leader, because he had a lot of characteristics that we didn't have. One, he was a super musician. He was like Jelly Roll Morton on the piano. He was called the prodigy of middle school and the way he played the piano. But there's something else he did, is he stood up to authority. The rest of us would cower, but not Bobby Houghton. A couple weeks before, I was at his house. I was invited over for dinner. As we sat around the table, we were eating, and this old man says, to Bobby, who was sitting right next to him, Bobby, will you pass the potatoes? Nothing happened. Bobby, will you pass the potatoes? Bobby, will you pass the damn potatoes? Well, Bobby reached into that and grabbed that metal spoon and took a dollop of potatoes like that, and he goes, whop, right in his old man's plate. Well, his old man went crazy, and he right out into the garage, and closed the door, and out there, here, whop, 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 and there's cursing going back and forth. And then all of a sudden the door goes open, and Bobby comes in, and his freckled face is crimson red, and he runs into his bedroom and slams the door with a curse word. And so we sat around the table, the family, in silence, and finished dinner. When we got over to Carrie Duncan's house, we fooled around, Bobby played the piano, and then we ate out in the backyard, and we looked down over the city of Butte on the west side, and there was a mine down there. Bobby said, what's that mine? Oh, that's the Vigilante mine, said Carrie. It's a privately owned mine. They mine manganese there. So, well, let's go down and see it. So we all went on a hike down to see the Vigilante mine. And when we came up to it, there was a 8-foot-high chain link fence that went all the way around it. And there's a sign on there that says, no trespassing. As soon as Bobby saw that sign, he was up over the top and he's walking around like a chicken. rock. Well, it only took a few more seconds and my other 3 buddies were with them and all 4 of them were walking around, rock, 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 rock. Jeffrey Chance, don't you dare think about going over that fence. What a bind I'm in. I could do what my mom wanted me to do, walk all the way home, 4 miles. Never have a friend forever, and always be known as a chicken. So I climbed up the fence and I into the dark side. Well, I have to tell you about this mine yard. It was really cool, because right in the center there is a 8-foot by 8-foot mine shaft that goes straight down for over 1,000 feet. On top of it, there's a head frame that goes up, and that holds up the elevator that goes up and down to transfer men and materials. And the elevator's been pulled up, and then up from the top of the elevator is a cable that goes up over the pulley and down into the engine house. On the engine house, there's a 5-foot by 5-foot window, so that the hoist operator can see what's going on outside. Well, somebody threw a rock down there. It was neat, because it hit the sides on the way down. Bang, 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 bang. Splash. And then Bobby Holton, he sees a tire over here by the mine, and he comes up and he goes, bang, 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 splash. And then Bobby goes over and he gets another tire, and he pulls it up, and he's walking by that 5-foot by 5-foot window. And what I tell you next happened in slow motion. As he heaved it up and it went through the window, crash, tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. Jeffrey Chance, you just wait until your father gets home. We were up over the fence, and we were a half a mile away from the mine. And they're coming at us closer and closer. And then all of a sudden, there is a .45 caliber slug goes right over my head. Followed by the report of the gun. Bam! We started to run. And then there's a second shot that goes right by my knees. Bam! And then it hits a rock right next to me, and there's a splatter of rock fragments going, and then it ricochets into infinity. And we stop. And we turn around and wait. Jeffrey Wiley, let us pray. Holy Mary, Mother of God, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Amen. Well, they came scooting up on the dirt. Both doors flew open. The engine was left running. The guy on the passenger side comes out, and he's got the .45 aimed right at us. And the guy who was driving, he was the owner of the mine, and he just happened to have a holstered .45, which he takes out, and now we're standing there with 2 Colt .45s aimed at us. Well, he gave us a tongue lashing, which of course we deserved. Every other word was horrible profanity, of course. When he was done, I looked over at Bobby Holton, and his freckled face is crimson red. And he walks right up to the manual, and he says, "You can't talk to me like that. My old man will kick the crap out of you." Well, the mine owner really got ticked now, and he raises up his .45, and he's going to club him right alongside the head. And so as he's coming down, Bobby Holton is on his knees. Don't hit me! Jeffrey Wiley, I'm not very impressed. Well, neither was the mine owner. In fact, he was really set back by the whole thing. And he aims his gun up to the north. He fires a shot. And he said, "You kids get the hell out of here and never come back." Well, we never ever talked amongst ourselves ever again about that incident, even to this day, or to anyone else. A few years ago, I was back in Butte, and I decided that I would drive back over to the other side of town and see that mine. And I had this thought, maybe, just maybe, might be there. And I'd be able to talk to him and tell him the things that I've been thinking about. Or maybe there'd be an apparition, like Shoeless Joe Jackson walking out and filled with dreams. So, as I'm driving over there, what I want to tell him is that I apologize for what we did. I'm sorry. maybe there's some way we can make amends after this long time. And then I would say, you know, thank you for teaching me a lesson about friends and people who keep as friends. And then I tell him about Bobby Holton. Bobby Holton, super musician. He mellowed out in high school. He went to college, graduated from college, and then on January 29th, 1969, Captain Robert E. Holton was flying an F-4 Phantom over Laos, shot down, missing in action. Future hero forever. Well, when I got to the mine, it was gone. There was no mine shaft, nothing there. It had been reclaimed. But as I walked around on that grassy knoll, I thought about that lesson that my mom tried, they kept lecturing me about friends that we have. And I understood. And so when I went to high school, I carefully selected who my friends were. And I always wanted friends that I could parade proudly in front of my mother. My mother told us never ever to come back. I guess I never did.